Hello, I'm Jeffrey Kinn, Sarasota Rising Living Arts Festival, Sarasota, and I am honored to be an interviewer here at Behind the Masterpiece. I'm also excited to be able to sit across from, I guess you would say sit across from when you're on a computer, the illustrious Nate Jacobs of Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe. He's a gentleman that I've been following all my years here in Sarasota. He's made such a difference in people's lives, and I can't wait to hear from him what makes him tick. So sit back, relax, and listen to my conversation with the illustrious Nate Jacobs. Well, hello, Nate Jacobs. Welcome to Behind the Masterpiece. How are you, sir?
Excellent, Jeffrey. Thank you so much.
Good. Look at us, all these years, and now we're chatting on a podcast due to technology, right? Seriously. So thanks for coming on, and there's so much I want to discuss with you. I know you have an exciting 25th season coming up, but then I also would love to just kind of figure out and see a little insight into you and how you do that voodoo that you do so well. So tell me in 3 short sentences, who is Nate? Who is Nate Jacobs?
Nate Jacobs is from a very large family. I have 10 siblings, born in Tampa, Florida, kind of grew up between Daytona Beach and Tampa. Have always been very creative and love the arts. Pretty much starting with music. My father was a touring gospel singer, and I think that's where the roots come from. He and his brothers, he and my uncles. Because I'm native Floridian. And I guess, been a resident of Sarasota for almost 30 years. I'm not from here, as you just heard, but, came here after college to help, some mentors in a private church school and started as the art teacher, then the drama teacher, and, got a call. Started an acting career, here. From the mentor in the school who saw me one day and said, "You are what we call a natural." And she said, "You are an actor and you need to be acting in these theaters." And thus my professional career started. And it was on that journey that, like I said, I got my tap on the shoulder for my destiny to form a theater. And I was like, huh? What?
Yeah. Well, literally being the person right now that's putting together a brand new organization, and the Living Arts Festival is this fall, and I'm going through probably the same pains and tribulations that you did way back in the day. And so there's not very many of us around that are people that started their organizations.
Right.
So I know that that was 1999, that Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe? Yeah, because you're having your 25th, I can count. So with the silver anniversary and with all the successes that you've had with your company, I have to ask this first question, which is, was there ever a time when you doubted yourself?
I started off kind of doubting myself. Am I good enough? Do I know enough? It was like, feeling around in the dark for many of those earlier years. I knew I could act because my career had kind of taught me that. I knew I could teach performing arts because that's the incubator of me being in the school for almost 10, 12 years, taught me that. But starting something, I couldn't look over my shoulder and see that happening around me every day. So it was feeling around in the dark. So it was a certain level of doubt there all the while. And then I gave myself the reasons. What are you doing? You impacting, you inspiring, you uplifting, you are educating, you are motivating, you are mentoring, opening people's minds, causing people appreciation to be heightened. And when I walked through those things, I said, okay, it's worth it. I know why I'm getting up every day and moving out into the world to do what I do.
Yeah. I got to tell you, there's a Christmas movie that always gets me. It's a Wonderful Life. And I can't tell you how many times I've been like, well, I'm not getting anything done. I'm not accomplishing anything, or the people that I want to be listening to me aren't. And then sometimes you get that little voice that helps you understand, wow, you're impacting people that you have no idea. You have changed people's lives and you have no idea. So yeah, it's a wonderful life. I cry and I cry and I cry. And then I just try, and then I try to do my very worst Jimmy Stewart impersonation, which
you're probably pretty good at it.
It used to be. I'm going to work on that. I'll get back with you on that. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit because I think it's interesting, and I've never heard this question posed to you and we've been in a lot of interview situations before. So besides the arts and singing and dancing and all that, was there ever another dream career? I mean, don't giggle, but I really wanted to be a paleontologist at one point. I know.
Wow.
I mean, seriously, I Latin and I was all in the sciences.
Yes.
And then musical theater hit me. So was there ever anything other than the arts that ever kind of,
at the latter part of my college career, I was an art student, fine arts. I ran away from the theater. I felt like I was too shy. I appreciated it, but personally, I was too shy to do theater. So I shied away. And even almost like in my junior year, I ended up running into the head of the drama department. And he said, my brother had graduated, went on to law school that was there. And he said, you know what I told your brother? I told your brother that you supposed to be in the theater department. I don't know why you went in there fast. And I just looked at him standing on campus, and then I just walked away real quick. That was my destiny kind of trying to call me, but I had the reservations. But I took a fashion illustration class. And this woman was from New York, and she was this woman that would walk around the class. You were halfway afraid of her. She hardly ever smiled, and she was been this specialist in fashion illustration in New York. And she came to my desk one day, and she leaned over and she said, "You are the best in my class." She said, "You could do this if you wanted to." And then she walked away. I stood there for a minute looking down at my paper. And I was like, wow. So I considered that. I thought, wow, fashion illustration. Wow, it could be cool going to New York and doing what I'm doing. Back then, fashion illustration, I don't know if they even do that anymore. But that was that. I thought about that for a minute. And I had this art degree. I really didn't know where I wanted to go with that. But the most serious thing that I considered was a fashion illustration artist. And because from that experience that I had with this school, the instructor in this class, I don't think I considered anything else until later. Like when I started the theater company, now I thought I could be a good detective because I like watching investigative ID and figuring out who done it.
Well, there's a whole psychology to that. And there's a whole psychology around being a director of anything, because when you're directing, all you're doing is trying to keep people from running into the furniture and stuff,
Right.
and keep them sane and, talking to each other. I know it's, so speaking of sanity, you write, you sing, you dance, you act, you produce. How do you balance everything? How do you maintain, like, obviously a pretty strong mental health? That's you don't look insane today. So you're having a good day. How do you keep your mental balance? How do you do that?
Well, as you know, it is very challenging, and it's not for the weak. My most years of building Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe, I had no time for anything else but thinking about this thing and building and showing up and making sure this happens and make sure that's okay and make sure a couple of our behinds here and make sure there's money and make sure. So that was 100% most of my time. I was married for 10 years, had a daughter. I had to be a father through that kind of like, she was like 7 or 8 years old when I started the troupe. So that's elementary school, middle school, high school. Her mom was involved at, helping with that, but I was a lot involved with that. So balancing that was, and weaving her into the world. She knew I'd pick her up from middle school. It was some meeting, some talk, something. And then after that, it may be 2 or 3 hours in the studio with me in a rehearsal. But most of it was building. And here now, 25 years later, Jeff, I'm back now going like, okay, now what do I do? Now I got a staff. Now I got a structure. Now a real board is around the table and I got a life back. I'm leaving the office at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the day. What do I do at this time?
Yeah. But you need that mental health time.
I do. And I'm just now getting to the point to appreciate that because I didn't used to. It was, you're going to be okay. Just go home and lay down for 2 hours, get up and go back to work. Now I'm appreciating, look, Nate, you are not 25 anymore and you're going to have to take care of this body because you only get one. And being honest with you, if founders stray away from the organization if it's not the right timing, it does affect the success of the organization. Yeah. So now I'm really seriously looking at how I take care of myself mentally and physically and balance a lot more.
So I would love to just pick your brain because the artistic director in me is excited about your upcoming season. And I know how challenging it is to choose a season. And at every play, every musical, I know there's a reason and I know there's a purpose behind it. And this is 25, which is silver. I think your silver anniversary.
Yes.
What went into putting together this 25th anniversary season?
Well, I opened with a signature show that I created that year that I was getting ready to get on the plane.
Yeah.
I had just gotten so tired of looking for a space for us. And then the experiences that I had with some of these different organizations in town. Anyway, those years. But Howard Millman, who had just come on my board for a year, he found out that I was dissolving or considering. I never went through with it. And he came to meet with me. He took me by the hand. We went to the Sarasota Arts Center over by Van Wezel. And so in the back was this den. He was like, Nate, you can't stop. He said, what if you change your mind? I said, Howard, I'm not going to change my mind. If I stop, I'm not changing my mind. He said, well, look at this. And there was this empty den in the middle of the art center. He said, can you do anything in here? And while I was standing there contemplating, getting out of the ring, I saw in my mind's eye this little review with 4 guys singing 70s music. And I didn't want to tell him. I stood there looking and I was like, he said, do you see anything? And I respected him enough. I said, yes, Howard, I can do a little review in here of guys singing 70s music. And he said, okay, done. We're going to move forward.
Yeah.
And this year,
And that was Soul Crooners?
The Soul Crooners Solid Gold because when we went dark, pandemic, I pulled the Soul Crooners out and went outside on the deck of the theater in the park.
I was there. Yes.
It has been a saving grace and a go-to all of my career building this company, and it just works. So to celebrate the go-to, I opened the season with, most of them have these guys who have been with that show from the beginning, guys raised right out of this community from Newtown that came through the doors and got training and became professionals that these people are excited about. Soul Crooners, and then Motown Christmas, which is another original piece I created because the Black Nativity is a piece that Langston Hughes created back in the 1950s, which took the Nativity and made it a gospel story. And I was doing that for our holiday, and people, I saw that show. So I said, well, let me create something different. So I celebrated the history and the artistry of Motown in the holidays version, taking songs right off those artists' albums and making that our holiday treat. So, and then August Wilson. We have done several of his shows. Fences is one of my favorite. And so I got a chance to meet August Wilson. You know, the legacy he left with me. I was sitting there telling him about the struggles that I was having with starting a theater company. He said, if you are having any of the achievement that you just told me about, do not leave Sarasota. He said, do not go to New York. Sarasota is where you're supposed to be. And that's the legacy that August Wilson left for me. Okay.
Wow.
So
have you guys produced Fences before?
We did it 2006 at the Historic Oslo.
Okay.
We were at the Historic Oslo for a year, almost 2 years we were there.
Okay.
And the first year we did it, that was our second show or something like that. So this is our second time bringing it back. We built a whole new audience, and I want them to experience the Fences experience. And then we do Five Guys Named Moe. I've done that show. We've done that show this would be our third time, I think, over the 25-year journey. I was in it the first time we did it, which was like the third year of our troupe. But excited about bringing back the Louis Jordan musical. And then a new show that I saw a performer, this amazing tap dancer, young guy, Lamont Brown, and he inspired Syncopated Avenue. So this is one of our first original tap shows that I'm putting together with him. So, you know, that is our celebration. You know, the unique thing about building new shows, especially for the African American canon, because you can only do Dreamgirls and The Wiz so often, it is not as vast as the American world of theater. So to have more creative stories and ways to tell brown and black stories is very important to me as the artistic director. So glad I got the ability and the skill to create things that people want to see. Okay.
Right.
So I'm just grateful for it.
Well, I also appreciate when you do things, you know, you've done some great versions of, oh gosh, why is it going right out of my head? Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat. What's that?
Oh yeah, Guys and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls. I mean, you did that was a fabulous version of that had your own flair to it.
We did Little Shop of Horrors. You know, Michael Mendez played the lead character in that. And people loved it. They were like, oh my God, we didn't even like this on Broadway. We love your version. I made the, what's his name? Mushnick, the shop owner. He was from Jamaica.
Oh, Mr. Mushnick was Jamaican?
Yeah, he was from Jamaica. And
you got to make it work.
Yeah, it's a fun, you know, change for those musicals.
That's it. That sounds like an exciting season that has a lot of awesome things kind of wrapped around, and you're going to be able to express yourself. Do you feel like you've gotten back your COVID audience?
Last season, Jeffrey, I saw our audience is coming back. When we did A Soldier's Play, we got the sold out audiences back. And then Ruby, the new musical, rolled in, and we had full houses for that. And then Marvin Gaye was even more so till we even had to extend an extra week because of the demand. I see them coming back. Yeah. And people are becoming a lot more comfortable to sit next to someone else.
Yeah.
In public places.
You know, I've been in your audience, and I've seen some masks. I would rather have people show up and wear masks than not show up. Nate, we could talk for another half hour, or maybe longer. I love having you as you're my first interview here with Behind the Masterpiece.
Well, I'm honored.
I have one little final thing. I heard somebody ask this question, and I thought it was really incredible. So I'm going to ask you this. So, Nate, if this is the very last time we ever speak, what's the one thing you'd want me to remember about you?
I am driven by the passion of purpose and by the passion of loving and uplifting my brother and my sister. That's what I want you to remember about me.
That is lovely. That's lovely.
That's pretty much me in a nutshell, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see that in all your interactions all over the years. So thank you so much for taking this time. Behind the Masterpiece is going to be better because of wonderful people like you in our community. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for considering me as one of your guests. I'm honored by being a part of it. Thank you.
Likewise. Have a good one. Thanks for being in our audience. I'm Jeffrey Kinn, Sarasota Rising Living Arts Festival. If you'd like more information about the incredible work that Visit Sarasota does, please visit them at visitsarasota.com. Thanks so much for being a part of our audience.